Let's get more on the names that can benefit from Nvidia's rally. Let's go to Gene Munster of Deepwater Asset Management. Gene, good to see you. We want to go outside the obvious. So how are you thinking of sort of the next layer of trades out?
So it starts with a little bit of a different view on what happened last night. I think that Nvidia's results underscore that this is happening much faster than anyone could have imagined. And it really, to put that in perspective, is that in the April 2023 quarter, Nvidia's business was down 13% year over year. This last quarter was up 260%. And the speed that things are happening is really underscores the seismic shift of this transition to AI. In the midst of what we've talked about with AI for the last year and a half, there's just so many buzzwords around it. I'll just leave it at this, that the substance ultimately is going to exceed the hype. And when you have that perspective, the concept of worrying about inflation starts to fade away, and you focus on what companies. And to answer your question, where do you go below the fold here? It's companies like TSM, ASML. I think that Google and Meta are particularly well positioned given they actually own the underlying models. So that's where we're looking for kind of this next shift. But this undoubtedly is going to be the underpinnings of a bull market of the next 3 to 5 years.
So hyperscalers and hardware, are you thinking software at this point? Are you thinking about companies that will deploy AI for gains in their business that may be outside of technology?
So currently, most of our investments are not there, but I think that that's going to be this next wave, call it a year plus, kind of the 2 to 5 years. So eventually we'll get around to doing that. We invest in private and public companies, and so there are companies like Hugging Face, for example, that is on the model side. So there are other opportunities, I think, to invest in this wave that are not right down the middle with Nvidia.
Gene, when you look at Blackwell, it's about 4 or 6 times faster than Hopper, and you wind up seeing their integration with their new chips being so much faster than the previous iteration of it. Do you think you're going to run into a scenario where people just sort of get paralyzed and they want to wait for the newer chip? We've seen that a little bit. Or do you think the bandwidth of AI currently, people don't need the latest and greatest, or there's a finite amount of companies like Amazon can consider doing whatever they're doing with Alexa, and others need the latest and greatest. Have you added that into your calculus for the companies?
Yes, absolutely. You're getting at the Osborne effect. This is that phenomenon of buyers waiting for the next kind of wave. And what surprised me related to last night's call is just the degree that NVIDIA is going out to its customers and saying, we're going to upgrade these chips once a year. And once you set that expectation, the probability that you have some air pocket before next cycle declines. If they would upgrade the chips every 3 years, this would be, you'd see these big boom and bust. But I think they are training their customers. We're going to get new, faster chips every year. This is kind of Moore's Law type of improvements. And I think that does minimize. That was my big concern going into this quarter, was the Osborne effect didn't play out.
Gene, at what point with NVIDIA do you think the growth will not warrant the chase? So, right now, it seems like they've put to rest any question that they're not going to grow EPS 30 to 40% over the next couple of years. Makes the stock really quite attractive right here. And at some point, there might be even a greater discounting mechanism for this stock based upon the move it's had and how important it's been. Any thoughts?
I think into calendar 26, this is going to be wide open. When I say wide open, right now the street's going to, after the revisions last night, is looking for almost 30% growth in calendar 25. I think they can grow 35% plus 25, 26. So this is bigger. It's not just hyperscalers. It's industrial AI. There's an application layer. There's sovereign nations. This is the things that Jensen talks about. And I believe that. And based on that, NVIDIA still is not challenged. And I think that this growth story is going to continue.